Hi guys, so today I thought I would show you sort of my typical Panasonic GH4 setup. So, you know, kind of what lenses and accessories I carry with me, why, that kind of stuff. Because I often get asked, you know, about the Panasonic GH4, you know, sort of for, you know, recommendations on what things, you know, I should get and what's, you know, what lenses are good for what, that kind of stuff. So I thought I would just sort of go over everything. So if I'm just simply going for like a family vacation, you know, trip somewhere, you know, or basically something which is not like a big job where, let's say like I'm doing music video or film, then I usually just carry this bag with me. And this is like a typical camera backpack. I've used this, you know, with my Canon cameras, my Sony A7S, and now with my GH4. It fits, you know, a lot of the camera, a lot of lenses in it, so it's good. And now, if you guys want information where you, for example, you can get this bag or any of the things I'm going to show you today, then I'm going to provide all the links in the description of this video. Or best way is probably just to go to the first link in the description of this video. That will take you to my website and to the post about this video and about basically all the things that I'm talking about. So I'll show you sort of where you can get the best deals and that kind of stuff. Anyway, so this is my camera bag, like I said, for just like a typical family vacation, that kind of stuff. Or, you know, if I'm just simply going somewhere, I'm not sure if I might need my camera, you know, where, you know, maybe I see something interesting, I want to just film, get some nice shots. So this camera backpack, it's good because, you know, it fits a laptop in here in the back. I can fit my accessories, my camera lenses here. Here in my front pocket, I have my Tiffin variable ND filter. Really cool, especially if you're shooting outside. It's a necessity. I have my Tiffin circular polarizer filter. Again, really necessary. I have my little Pelican SD card case. So I keep all my SD cards in here. Then I have, you know, like some, you know, camera, you know, like a lens cloth and things like that. And then I have my multi-tool, which, you know, again, you never know if you need to, you know, attach something to the camera or if you just need to fix something, you never know. It's good to have that tool with you. So I carry that with me. Now, you know, the good thing is that this bag also, like I said, if I'm flying somewhere, I usually take it, you know, I'll check it in. Just, you know, always make sure you take the multi-tool out because it has a knife in it. So I one time forgot about that. I checked in and then unfortunately I had to give up my multi-tool, and that's like, you know, this one costs around like $50. So that's $50 down the drain. So try not to forget about those kind of things. Anyway, so this is the main compartment. Now, the GH4 camera usually sits in here, but right now I'm recording with that camera, so that's why the camera's not here. And this is the cage. This is the Camtree cage, which I reviewed before. So that usually I have it here or on the camera, and I use it with me. And then, as you can see, so the camera fits nicely up here. And then here I have all my sort of my go-to lenses. So the main lenses that I'm using are going to be the lens right now that I have on the camera, which is the Lumix Vario G 12 to 35 millimeter lens from Panasonic, and that one is a constant f2.8 aperture. Really cool lens, has you know, image stabilization, has autofocus. So, you know, even like right now, like I said, I can use it, and it's you know, if I'm using let's say the remote, you know, the phone app, then this way I can control that lens and I can focus it and all that stuff. So really great lens. I would highly recommend you get that one because it goes, like I said, from 12 millimeters to 35. So it gives you like a nice wide angle to like a medium range. And then the other lens that I have is the also Lumix, you know, Vario G lens, but this one is the 35 to 100 millimeter. Again, it has, you know, it's image stabilization and has, you know, autofocus capability. So really cool lens. So with this lens and the one that I have on the camera right now, I'm pretty much covered all the way from, you know, sort of wide angle shots to like a nice telephoto. So these are the two lenses. Now, they're not cheap. They're going to cost you around, for those two, you can usually find a deal online, whether on eBay or on BH Photo. Sometimes they have sales anywhere between $1,400 to like $1,800. So it depends on what kind of a deal you get. So that's and I would say I'm using those two lenses most of the time with my GH4, especially if I'm, for example, on like a Steadicam or a 3-axis gimbal, because it has the auto function, you know, capability. Now, I'm not going to recommend that you guys use the autofocus, you know, in your lens for like a professional production, but I'm just talking about if you're doing, I don't know, like a family video or just like a, you know, going somewhere, traveling, and you're just getting some random shots for yourself, then you don't mind just leaving the autofocus on. And the Panasonic GH4 is pretty good, especially on like a wide angle lens. So that's one way of doing it. Now another way, people always ask me how to do focus when your camera is on a gimbal or a Steadicam. The best way is probably use a really wide angle lens, because the shorter the focal length, then the wider the depth of field. Again, I have a really old tutorial that I did already about the depth of field and how you can control that and the different things that affect it. So check that out, or I'll post it, on my website for this post. So that's one way of doing it, using a really wide angle lens. Now, if you want to have a more of a narrow angle lens, like let's say like a 50 millimeter, it's going to be difficult. Another way you can do it is basically close the aperture. The more you close the aperture, the deeper the depth of field gets, so it's easier to get things in focus. And you'll still sort of more or less have to like pre-configure your focus, figure out how far you're going to be from your subject, and then for that whole shot, just kind of stay within that same distance. So that's one way of doing it. And then the last way, which is usually kind of complicated and expensive, is getting a wireless follow focus system and having another person pulling focus real time with that. And there's different wireless follow focus systems that I've been reviewing that you guys can again check. All the links I'm going to post in the description of this video. And there is a new one right now that I'm testing. It's an adapter for Canon EF lenses that you can put on Micro Four Thirds cameras like the Panasonic GH4, and it's really cool because the adapter allows you to it like I said, adapts the lens, but it also sends power to the lenses. And if you're using Canon EF lenses that have autofocus in it, then it also comes with a wireless remote, and you can then use that remote to adjust the focus and even the aperture and things like that in your lens. Now, the only thing with that is I don't know exactly what the price is right now, and I'm still in the process of testing it, so I don't want to fully recommend it, and also I don't even know if you can buy it right now. It's like a pre-production model that I got, but once I'm done testing that out, for sure I'm going to post a video. And I think that seems right now like the best solution for wireless, follow focus, because then you no longer need those Cine gears, on your lenses or Cine lenses. You don't need, rails to put the follow focus, all that stuff. It really keeps everything small. So it seems like a cool solution. So hopefully everything works well with that. Anyways, my other lenses here that I'm using I have, for example, a Cine lens, and again, it doesn't have to be a Cine lens. You can get the same lens. This one's from Rokinon, and this one is a 24 millimeter at t1.5. You can get the exact same lens from Rokinon. It's a bit cheaper. It's just meant for photography, so it's not going to have the Cine gears. Now, if you're ever planning to use it for filmmaking, and you might want to spend the extra money to have those gears on there, it's kind of nice. So this is one of the lenses that I use simply because it's a really nice sharp lens, and it's also very fast, t1.5. It is kind of big and bulky though, that's the only thing, and it is fully manual, so that's one thing you got to keep in mind. But because it is fully manual, you do not need any expensive adapters to basically connect this to your camera. So I actually end up using this cheap adapter, which I believe I have here in the front. Yep, this one. So this is a Canon EOS to Micro Four Thirds adapter. This is a passive adapter, so it works great with these manual lenses like the Cine lenses. And this one, literally, you can get it for like $10 on Amazon, and it works great. It's very solid. This one's from Photosy, it says. I think that's the company name. But there's a bunch of different company names on it, but it's all I think manufactured by one company somewhere in China. They just kind of slapped their logo on there, so it doesn't really matter which one you get it, and they work great. And like I said, they'll work for your manual lenses. Now, they will not work for your autofocus lenses or lenses where you do not have an actual ring to adjust the aperture. Cine lenses have that, so that's a great thing to have with you. And that's one of the reasons why I would say if you're going to start investing in lenses for filmmaking, that kind of stuff. Now, this only applies to video, or for the kind of film production, not photography. And then I would say just invest in manual Cine lenses, because then you can use these cheap adapters. You can, like I said, you can put wireless follow focus with the gears on it, and that kind of stuff. This is just a shade, the lens shade for this Vario lens. I'll put that aside. As you can see, I also have these sort of Cine gears, the adapters that you can put on your traditional Canon EF lenses, so you can use wireless follow focus if you need it. I kind of have it in my bag. I don't know why, because I've never actually used it, so I'll probably get rid of that. Here's another lens that it's not the best lens, not the sharpest lens, but it's probably the most popular lens out there. It's the Canon EF 50mm lens at f1.2, I believe this one is. Yeah, I think it's the 1.4. Yeah, so that's the 1.4. There's another one that's a bit cheaper. That's the 1.8. I would say, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It's a little bit faster. If you're thinking about getting a Canon, like a good mid-size lens, the Canon 50mm, I think the f1.8 is actually even better. So that's the thing. The only thing is that this one has like a nice focus ring. So this way I was able to put my Cine gears on it, and then again I can use it with let's say if I have a follow focus or wireless follow focus. So that's the thing. That's the reason why I have it. But this is one of the lenses that I take with me because it's just really fast. So if I'm like I said, if I'm traveling somewhere and I go out somewhere at night, there's obviously there's not going to be any lighting there meant for videography. Then this way I can still make sure that I can get some nice exposures there. Another lens that I have is the Cine lens. This one's the Bauer 85mm T1.5. Again, it's all fully manual, and it has the ring for the aperture and the focus. Because it is what's it called? If it's a Cine lens, it's just like I said, it's a bit bigger, but it's very sharp. It will also work on full frame cameras, so that's another reason why I think it's good investing in these Cine lenses. And you can get whether it's Bauer or Rokinon or Samyang, I believe, they're all the same. I've tested out all the different brands, and they all, again, I think it's just one company, I believe out of Korea, that makes these lenses, and then these different companies just slap their logo on it. That's the only difference. So it doesn't matter whether it's Bauer, like I said, Rokinon or Samyang, whatever is the cheapest you can find, get it. Now there's going to be these kits you can buy with like a whole nice set of these prime Cine lenses. So I'm going to again post that link in the description of this video so you guys can find it. I know that GH4 Photo sometimes has deals on those kits and on Amazon. So that's the thing, and like I said, because these lenses are full frame lenses, if for whatever reason you ever let's say want to use it on on the Canon 5D camera, again you can put that in there. It has the EF mount, and I would recommend getting the EF mount because with the EF mount you can use a cheap adapter like this to still put it on like a micro four thirds camera. You can get a cheap adapter to put it on a Sony E mount, like a let's say Panasonic A7S. Again, because it's full frame, it will work on that camera. It will work then also on all your Canon cameras. So I think that's the best way: is get these Cine lenses with Canon EF mounts, and then just get these really cheap $10 adapters, and you're set, and you have really nice, sharp Cine lenses. Another thing I have here is a lens. It's like an older lens that I have. It's a Sigma. It's a zoom. I believe it's a 10 to 20 millimeters. Yep, 10 to 20 millimeters. Now this one's not fast. I forgot what it actually says. It's f4 to 5.6, so it's not a fast lens, but I just have it because it's really wide. It's 10 millimeters, so it's really getting up there. Now, like I said, if you're gonna get the Panasonic Vario lens, which is 12 to 35, you might not want to get this unless you plan to use this with like the Speedbooster. If you're gonna use it with the Metabones Speedbooster adapter, then because this one is the Canon EF lens, it will actually give you even wider field of view. Another thing I have is my little lens tool. I would recommend. I've had this one for like 10 years. I should probably get a new one. But it's basically just like a little brush which lets you clean the lenses before you put them on, and a little like a tool for basically wiping any fingerprints off your lenses. So really handy little thing to have. What else do I have here? And then I have one more lens, which is just a lens which is like a really big telephoto lens to sort of cover my, like I said, if I'm doing nature shots, I need to zoom in on, for example, some birds or something in the distance. Then this is a 70 to 300 millimeter Sigma lens in a Canon EF mount. And again, it's not a fast lens, it's a f4 to 5.6. But it has optical image stabilization, so if you're using it, you can use it with these cheap adapters, but this thing is really, I would say you want to use it with one of those expensive adapters that have send the electronic information and enable the image stabilization, because all the way at 300 millimeters, this lens, like I said, zooms in really nicely, but at 300 millimeters, you're gonna see every little shake with the camera. So you definitely want to have something, like I said, that allows you to turn on the image stabilization in this. So that's where the Metabones Speedbooster or just one of the Metabones or live active adapters will come in handy. So that's sort of what I have up here, and this is my, like I said, my main sort of setup, or when I go traveling. So these are the kind of lenses. I'll put these back in and show you guys what else I have there. And as you can see, the bag is cool because it kind of fits all these lenses. It's protected, it's all nicely protected, and it's good for when I go traveling. So I can take this with me on an airplane, check it in. I don't have to worry about it getting damaged, things like that. All right, put this there. And then I'll, for example, put this lens back in here too. And this is where, like I said, normally with the camera would go. So close it. Now, what I have here in this sort of a front pocket, well, I have my zoom recorder. So this is the H4N model. There's a better one right now, which is H4 5 and then the 6. Then I also have my little bag here with like a lavalier microphone that I can plug into this thing, or you can even plug it to your cell phone. I have some spare HDMI cables. This one's like a standard HDMI to micro HDMI, which works great with the GH4. And then I have a little tripod. Now these tripods, trust me, they'll save your life sometimes. Cheap, again, you can get it for even like as cheap as $5 on eBay. And they're great because for these small cameras like the Sony A7S or Panasonic GH4, you never know, you might be stuck somewhere up in the mountains or something traveling, and you don't want to, let's say, bring your big tripod with you, or this thing will save you because you can set up the camera and take like a shot of yourself or something. I also have a little power splitter and an adapter for different plugs around the world, and this also really comes in handy to have in your bag because, again, if you're traveling and the outlets, there's not enough outlets, let's say, and like you're staying in some really bad motel or something, or there's just they're using different electricity type, then this way you can adapt it and you can still charge your camera batteries and keep on using your camera. And then here in the front pocket, what I have is the charger for the GH4. I have the batteries. This is the Wasabi power pack for the GH4. Really cheap batteries. Again, I'll post the links for these, and they're really great batteries. They last just as long as the original Panasonic batteries. I also have these USB power packs, which you can use to power some of the other things and even charge your camera from it. I have another one of these cheap passive adapters, again about $10. And this one's from Nikon to Micro Four Thirds. So in case I have Nikon lenses, I can use it, which I actually do have in here. I'll talk about that later. This is the expensive adapter. This is the Metabones Speedbooster. I did a review about that, so again, I'll post a link to it. But basically what it allows you to do is it reduces your focal length, and it also adds an extra, I believe, f-stop of light. And at the same time, it also electronically transmits the information from your camera to your Canon EF lenses. So you can use your Panasonic GH4 to change the aperture and focus and things like that in your Canon EF lenses. And then I have spare batteries. I have 4 of these batteries, these Wasabi batteries. They're really great. Then I also have a whole bunch of these step up and step down rings. Again, you can get this whole thing on eBay for, I believe, around $20. And it has every basically possible size you could ever want. These are great because if you're using those Tiffin circular polarizers, well, you can use these to put them on any of your lenses. So I have a whole bunch up here. And then other than that, I have just more adapters. See more of these different adapters, the step up and step down rings. And then I also have my Koken filter holder, and then I have some basic Koken filters that I usually try to carry with me. So this is a really great thing that I'm actually doing a video about it. I'll post it soon so you guys can see what kind of cool things you can do, because I know a lot of people think that these Koken filters are, they're just not good quality, and also that they're more meant for photography, and it's not true. You can get some really, really cool video effects with these filters. So anyway, so this is sort of my day pack, or you want to call it, or sort of, like I said, my light pack if I'm just traveling with my basic camera kit. And I think the GH4 is great for that because, like I said, it can achieve nice cinematic shots, but it can also it can be used as, you know, like a fun family vacation kind of camera. So whether you want to take photos, time lapses, or videos. So let me put this all back in here, and as you can see, the whole thing fits this backpack. You can go with it, no problem. Now let me get into what I have here. So this is a Pelican case where I keep some of my other lenses. Now this case, you know, I don't really take it with me unless I'm going for like an official job. So, you know, if I know, let's say I'm going to be shooting a music video at a certain location or a film, you know, and I have a production track or production, you know, studio location there where I can bring all this extra gear. So I'll bring these cases and I'll put all the lenses in there and all the accessories. And I have also another bigger case which has even other accessories, you know, like things like my wireless follow focus, you know, monitors, things like that. But this is just when it comes to lenses. I'll show you guys what I have. And these lenses is great because, again, they'll work with most cameras. So you can use it with your Canon cameras, Canon 5D. You can use it with you know, the Micro Four Thirds cameras, or you can use it with the Sony E-mount, like the Sony A7S. And that's why I was saying that the best thing to invest in are the Cine lenses with the Canon EF mount, because they're fully manual, and then you can buy these cheap adapters and adapt them to pretty much any mount. So here's another one of these. It's actually not a Cine lens, it's from Bauer, but it's fully manual, and it's identical to, you know, to like those Cine lenses. The only difference is it doesn't have the geared ring. So I have put my own geared ring on there, and I kind of permanently glued it. Reason why I got this is because I were able to get this lens for around $60 cheaper than the Cine version. So I just figured the gear costs around $5. I was like, well, I'm gonna get it. I'll test out the lens, and if it works, then I'm saving myself, you know, $55. So really great lens. This is a 35mm at f1.4, and again, it's a Canon EF mount, and it works on full frame cameras. So that's a great thing about it. Fully manual, you know, just a great lens, like I said, to have. And if I'm doing, for example, like I said, these music videos and stuff like that, where yeah, I have access to the lens and I can control it, you know, or adjust put my follow focus on it, then I'm pretty much going to stick to my Cine lenses, which are these ones, and then the two that I showed you in there. But if I'm using, let's say, the like a 3-axis gimbal or a Steadicam on my camera, then I'm going to use usually those Vario, Lumix Vario, you know, lenses on my Panasonic GH4, because they have image stabilization and because they have automatic, you know, AF, you know, out of focus function in it. This is a really cool lens. It's a 14mm from Rokinon. Again, it's not the Cine version, but they have the exact same one with the Cine version. And again, you can get this from Bauer and Samyang. Again, I saved myself around $50 because I bought the standard version and I just put my gear on it. And this is 14mm at f2.8. So it's pretty nice because, you know, it's not a necessity. Like I showed you guys, I have here on my back, I already have a nice 10mm wide angle lens. But the problem with that one is it's at f4. So if I'm shooting indoors where there's not a lot of light, for example, or at night, then this really comes in handy. And it's great because it's a full frame lens, very sharp. So nice option to have, but it's not a necessity. I'm just saying that, especially if you already have the other lens. Aside from that, what I have here are just sort of my other lenses, which are some of my really favorite lenses that I've been using these for, I think, over 10 years now. I've used it on a whole bunch of cameras. Are these old Nikkor manual lenses. They're great because they're very small, as you can see. This is the 50mm, and this one goes all the way to f1.8. Fully manual, as you can see, has manual aperture ring and the focus ring. Here's another one, which is the Nikon 24mm, and this one goes to f2.8. Again, really nice, you know, semi-wide angle and a very, very sharp lens. And Nikon 105mm at f2.5, so again, very sharp. And I believe I have one more up here. Yeah, this one's the Nikkor 85mm at f2, 2.0. Again, really cool lens. And these set of sort of Nikon lenses, like I said, I've been using these for years, and the reason why I really like these, and a lot of cinematographers out there I know still using these old Nikkor, you know, still photography lenses, really what they are, is because, like I said, they're fully manual, so they're great you can again mount them onto, you know, any cameras out there. You know, here I have, for example, another one of these cheap mounts. This one's the Nikon to a Sony E-mount adapter. So again, this $10. You can get this and you can put any of these lenses on there. And then I have the same one over there, like that I showed you before, that allows me to use that on the Micro Four Thirds. And then I have the same one here for that allows me to use which one is it? Somewhere here I have it. I have another adapter that allows me to use the Nikon lenses on a Canon camera, so a Canon 5D 70. So like I said, for those kinds of things, it's great because you have it there, and these lenses, they create a really nice, like the way the bokeh looks, but also the way it treats the lights, the highlights. It kind of makes it kind of creamy, but without making it look out of focus. Really nice aesthetic kind of look to these lenses, and you can get them pretty cheap, by finding deals on eBay or Amazon. So if you definitely come across any of these old Nikkor lenses, fully manual, I'd recommend that you guys get them. They have really nice, just the optics, the crystals in it create a really pleasing image, and I think a really nice looking image for especially for certain type of video work. So highly recommend it. And like I said, you can get these for fairly cheap. It's just a matter of finding the deal, or if there's like a a thrift shop store or something, or maybe a used camera store in your area. Just go in there, see if they have any of these old Nikkor lenses. Highly recommend it. And that's pretty much my whole setup. So here I have some more of these Rokinon filters that I was mentioning to you before. I have my Vid Atlantic, streak filters. Again, they're kind of come in handy sometimes, so you never know. I carry them with me. And then, I have some more step-up rings, that kind of stuff. And then I have another, for example, adapter. Again, cheap adapter. This adapts all the Canon EOS lenses. Again, it's passive, but it allows me to take all those Cine lenses that I have, which are fully manual, and put them on Sony E-mount cameras, like Sony A7S or any of those NEX cameras. Really cool thing to have. And like I said, it's just, with this whole thing, as you can see, that's pretty much what I use for my work. So any of my videos that you've already seen, that's pretty much what I used. And majority of it, though, is going to be filmed on the lenses that I showed you guys in here. Now, the last here case that we have, this is my little Pelican case for my, this is my Lensbaby's lenses and little accessories. So again, I did a video about Lensbabies and the whole system, how it works. Basically what it is, it's a set of tilt shift lenses, and they're great because they allow you to do some really cool effects with the aperture, where you can do cut out manual apertures, to add interesting little shades to like the bokeh and the highlights in your bokeh, things like that. And it has the Lensbaby Composer Pro with this is with the Canon Canon EF mount lens, and this one is with, I believe, the E-mount lens for the Sony, and the other one is the EF Canon mount. So I just have those two different Composer Pros, and then other than that I have these optics. This one's the Sweet 35, and this one is the Edge 80 optic, and then I also have some of these old, like simple converters that you added. Again, this whole thing fits in here. Now, the Lensbaby lenses are definitely not a necessity. So if you're gonna ask me, what lenses you should invest in, let's say you just got the Panasonic GH4 and you're just starting out in videography or filmmaking, definitely forget about these two boxes. It's kind of, I would say, the first two lenses I would suggest getting are the Panasonic Lumix Vario 12 to 35 and the 100 to or 35 to 100. That will cover your sort of wide angle range to like a nice sort of a starting telephoto range, and that will cover probably 95% of your filming. So right there you cover it, and you can go out there, you can start producing some really nice cinematic looking videos. After that, I would say, especially if you're just starting out and you're not sure what your style is, what kind of lenses you prefer shooting with, that's when after you gain a bit of experience, you're gonna get into it, and you're gonna then see sort of like start pushing the limitations of those two lenses, and then you're gonna see maybe you want a lens that's a bit faster. You want to get even shallower, more dramatic, depth of field. So maybe then you'll look into getting another lens, maybe in 50 millimeter or something like that, like the Canon lens. That has the f1.8 or f1.4 that has really narrow depth of field. Or for example, maybe you decide that you like shooting a lot of music videos with these crazy exaggerated wide angle lenses. Then maybe you'll get like that that Cine lens that I have, which is like a nice wide angle lens, and then with the Speedbooster on that will give you a really nice wide depth of field. Or maybe you're not, your style of shooting, maybe you're doing a lot of wildlife or that kind of stuff, and you want like to punch in a lot, and you want to get those really, really crazy telephoto shots. Again, that's when you, with time, you'll find out about all these other things. And like I said, if you're using this purely for filmmaking, I would suggest investing money mainly into the fully manual lenses, whether it's the Nikon lenses for still photography, the old ones from the Nikkor ones, or if you're, for example, getting into the cinema lenses, for. But I would suggest, I think the best option is to get the Canon EF mount and then just use those cheap adapters so you can adapt it to any camera, whether it's the Panasonic GH4 or maybe in the future you'll get a Sony camera or on another Canon camera, then you can still use those lenses. So that's kind of where I would say you should start off with. And then the last thing, once you're sort of, I would say, gain enough experience, is you want to get into these kind of Lensbaby lenses. These are what I would consider more of these special effects kind of optics. So they're great. Again, if you see the video, the review I did of this, and then the film that I produced with these, you can get some nice results, but you're definitely not going to be using it for every shot or for every production, because it's just going to make your videos really, I think after a while, if you overuse this, it's going to just really make it boring. Whereas if you use these lenses just in the right moments of your videos, where you want that extra thing, a bit of kind of a funky, weird look, then it's going to come in handy. But again, using these lenses is not easy, and especially if you're just starting out, you're not going to know how to best or where to best use these kind of lenses. So that's why I would say first get the native lenses for Panasonic GH4, which are the Lumix Vario 12 to 35 at f2.8 and the 35 to 100 millimeters again at f2.8. After that, experiment, start filming, and like I said, you can get amazing results with those two lenses and then build from there. Anyways, it's a long video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and again, as always, go to my website for all the information, all my tutorials, or any other product reviews and things like that I do. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.